right, Chris, thank you. We're fixing up our set here, too. A lot of things going on here as we have reached the lunch hour here in New York, but teams are lunching on their first-round picks. Now let's look at your board. We had that the pick six, as we called it last night, and they are now all gone. As you move with Empman and Vincent and Howard and Coryat and Buckley. Now let's look to the next group. And if you're rating best available athlete, that's the first time that statement's been made. Mark it down, 12-15. These are your guys.
Derek Brown, tight end, Notre Dame, figures to go somewhere in this next group of 5 teams. Chet McLaughlin, a guy that has great physical ability, figures in the middle of round 1. Carl Pickens, wouldn't he look good in a Bronco uniform with their wide receiver problem? So these guys are prime athletes and very good picks in the middle, late first round. Dale Carter, I still think he'll be a Cowboy. Kevin Smith, the Dolphins, very high on him. Leon Searcy, we know the Patriots, how they feel about him. Tommy Vardell just went. Chuck Smith, a guy that's a great football player, but teams are now projecting him down a little bit because they say he's not a true linebacker. So you're going to steal Chuck Smith at a bargain point in the draft.
The Seattle Seahawks are next up, and there's about 4.5 minutes to go for their selection, and I believe offensive line, and I believe that'll be Ray Roberts. But think about what the Seahawks did, oh, by the way, last night. Yeah, you say sometimes you take these established players, and they're coming off injuries, but if you missed it, they have Keith Millard, who missed all of last year's serious knee injury with the Vikings. They got him for a second-round pick from the Vikings and a conditional the year after. They get Reuben Mays, who was a real productive running back, certainly in college, and a good one with the Saints, but he's been retired for a year, really a year and a half. They get him in a deal, too. So Seattle, think in the middle, Tommy. If Millard can play, along with Cortez Kennedy in the middle of their defensive line, on a good defense.
You've solidified your front seven, and Jacob Green's still on that defense.
He'll play 10 more years.
Still playing well. You know, people keep talking about the fact that Jacob Green's getting older, but he's still playing well. I think their whole situation up front is dependent on if the deal with Millard, if Millard can recover from that knee injury. He took the year off last year, so he's had a complete year off from playing. Now, that deal will be if he can play and be healthy.
They've got a good defense, but they've got questions on offense. To refresh your memory on the Seattle Seahawks, let's have a look. Tom Flores has left the friendly confines of the president's booth to once again return to the sidelines. And for the first time since '82, Dave Craig will not be the Seattle quarterback. It's either the untested Kelly Stoffer or the untested Dan McGuire, last year's #1. On defense, Tom Catlin decided to stay in Seattle. That's good news for Flores, but the unheralded defense was among the best in the league in '91. So the Seattle Seahawks, an underrated defense, and you saw the veteran coach Tom Catlin, who stayed. The one thing they don't have is a quarterback. They're going to start with Kelly Stoffer, but maybe look to Dan McGuire as the year goes on, the 6'8" quarterback drafted in the first round last year. If Reuben Mays can play, Joe, John L. Williams goes to a fullback. Mays at a tail. They got a young guy named Chris Warren, who the coaches like a lot. They don't have a lot on offense, but with a real good defense, if they get a running game going, they might grind out some wins.
Well, Chris Warren was the only tailback that they wound up keeping after the Plan B acquisitions were all said and done. I think with John L. wanting to go back to fullback, gives him a chance. He's not as young as he used to be, gives him a chance to be used as the versatile back that he is. Has been to the Pro Bowl a couple of years. The important thing about this is they still need a young running back. Seattle still, I believe, has to invest in a young running back. Also, you know, Chris, you project Ray Roberts going there. I don't think there's any question that the offensive line is the first place that you start to build to protect a quarterback. I know for a fact that they want Dan McGuire to be their quarterback. That's why Chuck Knox is not coaching in Seattle anymore, because he didn't necessarily want him to be the quarterback, didn't feel he was ready yet. They got to get him ready now, and they got to do it with offensive line help.
Well, you talked about the running back, and you look at the depth chart, and they lost some people, and it's not very deep. Although, you know, James Jones, a veteran, but John L. is certainly a productive and a Pro Bowl player, the fullback now. But Reuben Mays, how he fits into the equation will be intriguing. We have yet to see, Mel, a true running back. We saw Bardell go. You've got Vaughn Dunbar, who's out there and actually is here in New York from Indiana. You had Tony Smith, Southern Miss, along with Bardell. Those are the only 3 first-round running backs we're likely to see today?
That's it, Chris. I think when you look at Vaughn Dunbar, the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are picking after Seattle, hoping that he will slide down that far. Tony Smith, I think, to Atlanta a little later in the first round.
All right, Seattle is selected, Mel, so we'll keep an eye on running backs. Now we'll keep an eye on the commissioner.
Roberts goes here, Dunbar goes to Pittsburgh.
Yes. Yes.
With the 10th choice in the selection meeting, the Seattle Seahawks select Ray Roberts, tackle, University of Virginia.
Well, every now and then you get one right. Ray Roberts, the tackle from Virginia, 6'5½", 298. What they will do, the Seahawks, is as soon as Roberts is ready, they drafted in the first round a guy they think is a very good player at left tackle a couple years ago, Andy Heck. Roberts would go to left tackle, and Andy Heck would move over to guard to give them the power side to run. Tell me about Roberts, Mel.
Well, he's a steady player. He really played well throughout his career, pass blocking, run blocking. They were a very balanced offense at Virginia. Matt Blunden, of course, the quarterback. And you see Roberts, the way he just handles people at the line of scrimmage. There he was neutralizing Marco Coleman. Here he's working against Chuck Smith in the Senior Bowl. So a guy who's been experienced going up against top players, one-on-one situations, and certainly a guy that, you know, after you get a pass Whitfield, and there was a lot of people around the league that thought, hey, Roberts may be long-term a better player than Bob Whitfield. You're getting him here at the 10th spot. I'm sure there was some debate, though, with the Seahawks as to whether you go tight end Derek Brown or Ray Roberts, and certainly with only Andy Heck and Brian Millard coming back, they really had no other recourse. But, you know, Derek Brown's still a guy, very tough to pass up for these teams coming up in the first round.
One other thing to mention about the Seahawks, they now lead the league in Millards, Brian Millard and Keith Millard, something to keep track of. It's always very important to know that. The Washington Redskins led the league in everything last year, and guess what? They lead the league in providing pressure on offense now that they've drafted Desmond Howard. A guy that knows a little bit about offensive football is stick by with our Mike Patrick. Mike?
Chris, thanks very much. Joe Gibbs is right here, and it seems unbelievable that it's the first time since you've been here that you've had a chance to take somebody this high in the first round.
Yeah, particularly, too, Mike, the fact that it's the first time we've ever been able to say, well, we're going to get the sixth player, and so you can work on 6 guys trying to get 6. It was exciting for us, and it was a new position for us. I was excited about being in that position, I'll tell you that.
Desmond Howard's certainly a quality pick. Some people will say, is his size going to be a problem, as small as he is playing in the tough NFC East?
Well, we got Gary Clark on our team, and I think we like Gary Clark a lot. And he's shown that he can be as good, just as good as anybody, really, playing at this level. We got Art Monk is a little bigger, and we got in the middle Ricky Sanders. We like all of them. I think, we're not worried about size. I think Desmond's shown when you can play at Michigan in that league, I think you can play with the Redskins.
Of course, you just named 3 quality wide receivers that you have on your roster that you expect to play for quite a while, but this team has always drafted for the future, not tomorrow.
Well, I think, you know, we were looking at a situation here trying to find somebody that really, when you pick that high, you want somebody preferably. Normally, if you give us enough time, we'll find a hole in anybody. But in this case, we couldn't find holes in Desmond, so we were going to try and pick a player that we really, picking that high, was a real quality guy that we felt like would have a chance to really come in and do a great job for us at the Redskins. And I don't. We do have very good receivers on our team. I'd rather work with that problem, though, and we've had that before at other positions, and that's a good problem to have. I don't think any of the guys that are here now are going to worry about this because they're all very confident in themselves, and I don't think Desmond's going to worry about it because I've seen some of his comments. I think he'd be coming in the right way, just looking to help our football team.
All right, Joe, thanks very much. Congratulations on the pick. I know he'll help the Redskins.
Well, thanks. We're excited, Mike.
Let's go to Desmond right now. He's with Andrea Kramer. Andrea?
Thanks a lot, Mike. Well, there's your new head coach there talking about you. He's saying that he's not worried that there's too much depth now in the Redskins. How do you feel about coming in where you have 3 receivers, the caliber of Monk, Clark, and Sanders?
I feel great about coming into a situation like this. I think I can learn a lot from these guys. They can be my mentors just like the individuals were at Michigan.
How do you think you're going to handle how physical the NFC East is? I mean, unfortunately, we hear about Andre Waters from the Eagles. He's got a reputation as a bit of a headhunter, maybe deservedly so. How will you handle the physicalness of that division?
I don't worry about those things. I don't let them get to me. I think that Coach Gibbs said it best when he said, playing in Michigan, you're playing against some of the top competitors in the nation. So if you can play there and excel, I think you can play in the NFL and do a pretty good job.
Okay, thanks very much, Desmond. Right now, let's go back to New York.
All right, Andrea and Desmond and folks, Joe Gibbs, very happy. Pittsburgh Steelers, you got to think they might look running back like Vaughn Dunbar. That's the phone conversation. The card is up. Oh, and Joe had it. We all had that. We don't get dinners on this one if it's right.
No, we don't. But the fact is I think you have to, you know, you sit down, you look at teams,